Hi, it's Alison Marlowe here with another Global Winning Women live chat. And I want to start off with this particular chat by sharing a quote with you. I want to live in a world where women have the courage and confidence to lead dynamic and inspiring businesses. Leadership is not about being the boss. It's about being the best of who we are and encouraging others to do the same. It's about building and growing businesses that are gorgeous to lead, amazing to work for, and pure pleasure to buy from. I chose this as my life's work, inspiring others to birth and grow their leadership brilliance. Yasmin. Now, Yasmin is somebody that I met a few years ago, and I'm absolutely delighted to have her with us today. Yasmin is an accomplished and passionate coach for business leaders and entrepreneurs. So, Yasmin, you're in the absolute perfect place. She also works with women from all over the world. You know, women like us who are running our own businesses, women who are leading within organisations, and women who aspire to lead others. Yasmin's also the co-author of Ready, Aim, Influence. Join forces, expand resources, transform your world. What an amazing title. Yasmin, welcome to the call.
Thank you very much, Alison. I'm delighted to be here.
Absolutely delighted to have you. Absolutely delighted. And I was just trying to think back, Yasmin. I can't remember now exactly when we did meet, but I think it was one of these social media sort of brought us together initially in the first place, and we were sort of circulating in the same circles. Who would have thought that we'd be doing this interview now?
I know. I think we actually met in person, if I remember rightly. It was about two years ago now, I think. It was at an event, as all these great meetings happen, events and things like that. So, I know. Fast forward 2 years and see where we are now.
Absolutely. And, isn't this wonderful? Because, you have evolved so much. I have evolved so much as well. And I think this is something that I really want to be tapping into with you as we're chatting today. I'm becoming quite known for talking about, living in these exciting times of evolutionary change and raised awareness. And, I know that that is something that is really, really important to you. Yasmin, I want to really just dive straight in. This is such an exciting topic that we're going to be talking about. So tell me a little bit about what you do now and how you got started and kind of, what's really brought you to the point you're at today.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. Okay, so I suppose if I kind of go back a little bit to, my upbringing, and I suppose that helps to then understand, what I'm doing now. And I suppose from a young age, I was always really fascinated by the idea that there were limits to what I could do because I was a girl. I grew up in an Asian or an Indian Muslim household, and there were always these limits that were placed that you couldn't do this, and you couldn't do that, and you couldn't do this. And I always asked the question, why not? Why not? And there was always this feeling that, or there was always this kind of sense that you went from your father's house to your husband's house, and that you were always looked after, but you didn't really have much part to play in that. And that didn't sit well with me at all. I always kind of felt like, well, what if I want to do something different? What if I just want to go traveling or, live by myself, And there's always this feeling like, well, no, that's not what we do. That's not what women do. And I think it just came to a point where, in my kind of teenage years, I just thought, it doesn't sit well with me, so I'm not going to live by those rules. And I suppose ever since then, I've always been kind of making up my own rules as I've gone along. And kind of from a young age, from kind of going to university, I left home to go to university, which was unheard of. Girls didn't leave home unless they got married. And I'm the youngest of three, so my brother and sister stayed at home for university. So this didn't go down too well, but I kind of just did it anyway. And got heavily involved in student politics and kind of really found my voice, I suppose. That's kind of the way I look at it. And my upbringing always kind of got me thinking about, well, I'm sure there's more that women can do. I'm sure there's a greater contribution that we can make. And it was really about defining what that looked like and what that meant for me in my life. And then I kind of started my career in corporate training and leadership development, and I stayed in the corporate world for about 12 years. before starting my own business at the beginning of 2012. And I suppose what I've done over the last couple of years has really evolved as well in terms of how I work with my clients. And for me, it kind of keeps going back. It's always been going back to the whole empowerment and inspiring women to lead more. That's always kind of been the kernel.
Wow, goodness me. And you know, it is a journey, isn't it? Because you know, I guess you say this to your clients as well sometimes, Yasmin, but you know, I always say to them, you know, not to worry too much, because everything you're doing today, you know, this time next year it will have evolved and you'll be moving, you know, with your business as it begins to grow. But you know, one of the things that I really want to be talking to you about today is this whole thing about leadership and profitability within business. You know, what do you think is the relationship between those two things, between leadership and profitable business in the 21st century? You know, these exciting times we're living in.
Yeah, it's funny because when you were reading the quote out, and you know, someone said that, you know, leadership is not just about being the boss.
Yeah.
It's about really bringing out the best of who we are and the best of the people that work with us. And for me, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are probably thinking this, you know, I just feel exhausted with the poor leadership that we're seeing. You know, such poor leadership in government, in politics, in industry, in business. And, you know, sometimes it just kind of, you feel a bit kind of downhearted about it, and you're thinking, could this ever get, you know, better? Can this get better? Can this improve? And, you know, I've always been a passionate reader and learner of leadership and what it can do for business, and I was very blessed to be able to do that in my career as well. And so all the research that I've done, all the reading, all the working with my clients has really shown me that there is a very, very strong link between powerful and effective leadership and profitability. That it's not an either or. It's not something that, you know, you're a great leader and people just think that just means that you have lots of great quotes and, you know, you just rally the troops. There is a deeper sense of what that leader does for a business. And I'm not talking about business as in it's got to be a massive organization. You could be, you know, a group of, you know, a team of 5 people, and you are still their leader. And it's how you infuse that into all of what you do. So for me, it's like, it's not about being a small business, it's not about being a corporate business. Leadership exists at every level.
Wow, absolutely amazing. So I'd like to just sort of dig a little bit deeper really around your definition of leadership for a business owner, because I think it's a really prominent term at the moment. I'm seeing it a lot, and I'd just love to hear your viewpoint, Yasmin. You know, how would you actually define leadership yourself?
Yeah. So for me, leadership is about having a vision and executing on that vision. Doing it in such a way that is authentic to who you are and what the business is all about. And sustainability is a piece of that as well, that you're not just looking for the short-term wins, you're really looking at the long-term picture. So I suppose the comment that we made earlier about the evolution of your business, that's perfectly normal, it's perfectly natural. And for me, a leader really sets the tone for the business. One of my mentors always says that, you know, don't let your small business make you small-minded. And for me, the leader is not just someone who's kind of doing the day-to-day running of the business. They're actually always kind of taking time out to look, you know, put their head above the clouds and see the bigger picture, and really get an understanding of what they want the business to be about, what they want the business to achieve. And so going back to my original quote as well, you know, it's about businesses that are amazing to work for and pure pleasure to work from. So we're looking at it from all the angles of the people who work for the business, people who, you know, buy from the business. You know, this is a holistic approach, I suppose.
And thank you so much for sharing that, because I just felt that there was a kind of a need for a little bit of clarity around that point as well. You know, we have listeners who have been running business for years, and we also have people I know that will be tuning in, you know, who literally are at the very, very beginnings. And the setup, that, you know, such a fledgling company, and I think the whole word leadership, they're not necessarily recognising themselves as leaders at this point, but yet they are, and really that's why I asked you just to expand on that point. I know you're very much like me, you see the potential in other people, so, you know, we're seeing these leadership qualities, yet some people are not yet owning that for themselves. So thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And also I think, you know, so a lot of what you're sharing here is about who we're being within our business.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I mean, one of the things that I would just say around the whole, just kind of finish on the topic that you were saying about the leadership and the definition of it, is that for me it's very much, you have a big picture and then you have the day-to-day picture as well of what that looks like and how you actually you know, live it as well. And I suppose that's probably what we're going to be talking about now, is like, you know, how do you do it and how do you be it?
Yes, exciting. But before we go there, tell me why you believe we, you know, I mean, typically, I mean, I love the fact that, you know, your whole story has brought you to where you are today. But why do you believe that women particularly need to be leading more?
For me, it goes down to, I mean, one of the interesting statistics I recently read about was the fact that, you know, women make the majority of purchasing decisions in the home. You know, family needs. We're the ones that make those decisions, and yet we're not at the table making those decisions, you know, at the level of the CEOs, the boards, of the companies that actually have a massive influence in how we live our lives and how we work in our lives as well. And for me, about women leading more, and excuse my baby crying, she's 14 weeks old, so she's just a little bit grumpy.
Oh.
she's
very welcome to have her say.
Have her say as well. She's mad to get her piece in about women contribution.
Absolutely. Start them young, Yasmin.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I find really exciting about working with business leaders and entrepreneurs is the whole idea of changing the rules. You know, like I shared earlier, that, you know, for me it's always been about, well, that doesn't suit me, so I'm going to do some things that suits me. And I believe that the world of business, as it stands right now, doesn't suit the majority of women.
Yeah.
You know, I recently participated in the Global Women in Leadership Summit, and this is something that I shared with the participants of the summit, that, you know, there's this glass cliff that women are falling off. You know, if you're working in the corporate world, you get to a certain point, and a lot of women get to middle management, for example, and they get to that point, and then they fall off this glass cliff when they stop, when they stop to have a child. And, a lot of women will take some time out and they may go back, but then, they may have a second child and a third child, and at some stage they may decide, actually, do you know what, I can't do it all, so I'm just going to take a step back from the work so that I can focus on my family. And it's very difficult for women to get back into the workplace and to then rise to the senior positions within companies, because it feels like you've taken too much time out. And a lot of women have great difficulty getting back into the workplace, and they end up taking roles that they wouldn't necessarily be suiting them and their talents and their skills and their experience. And so one of the great things about being an entrepreneur and being your business owner, and certainly being a business leader as well, is that you can start challenging that, and you can start building a business that actually fits you. And the great thing about this is, when I talk about being gorgeous to lead and amazing to work for, is you're not only doing that for yourself, you're doing that for other people as well. And I read with great interest when Marissa Mayer, the CEO of Yahoo, I was expecting her first baby. I think the baby must be about a year old now. She was talking about flexible working and how she brought everybody back from home working because it wasn't working for the company. And that the irony was that she had a big nursery built next to her office,
wow,
for her baby. And I was like, not everyone can do that, love. You're not going to be happy about somebody bringing their baby in, yet it's okay for you. And so it's really got to be about, recreating what we need to do with business. So if it's about flexible working, it's about allowing women to be able to kind of find affordable childcare. That seems to be a massive problem. I know it's certainly a problem here in Ireland. And this whole idea about doing all the working all the hours. This badge of honour that we have around 24/7 working, and oh, look at me, I'm so busy. I've been at my workplace for 12, 15 hours, and you know what? It just doesn't suit, because whilst we have our professional aspirations and ambitions, we also have our personal ambitions as well for our families and our children. And my children are very young. Like I say, my daughter is 14 weeks old and my son is 3. So I don't miss out.
Yeah, and you're making some really, really good points here. I'm sure lots of people are just nodding their heads in agreement with you. And my children are much older now, but even so, I still have those considerations to take into place. I can't just drop everything all the time, and I can't just drop work necessarily. There are some times that I need to find that childcare for them as well, and it's a big issue, isn't it, for women? But I'm really keen on something that I know is very important for you as well. I see a lot of women running businesses, but they're not sustainable, Yasmin.
Yeah.
And there's this whole part of the profitability that I'd just love to touch on, because I'd just really like to hear your viewpoint on this, really. I'm really curious, what you're going to share about this. But, I'm not seeing a lot of women really becoming all that they can. They're, exactly as you were saying about being the best of, who we are. And this concerns me a little bit. And, I'd like to, from that point, then move on to, how can we grow into that best role? How can we have it all? How can we lead or have profitable businesses rather than just, mediocres, settling for second best? Because I do see a lot of that.
Yeah, I think when I talk about sustainability, I talk about kind of my thought process around this is structuring our businesses in such a way that allow us to not kill ourselves in the meantime. And I don't say that lightly, even though I might laugh at it. I see so many entrepreneurs, business owners, and especially women so busy doing so much. We don't just have our businesses. We have our families. We have our homes. We have our relationships. And my goodness, life is busy. Life is so busy. And one of the biggest lessons that I have certainly learned in kind of running my business, and certainly from my experience in the corporate world as well, is that simplicity has to be the key in terms of, doing what needs to get done, but not overloading yourself to such an extent that you then get overwhelmed. And I suppose this is what I mean, when you're talking about the big picture of leadership and business success, and then going down to the nitty-gritty of everyday life. And some of the things that I've implemented in my business, and some of the things that I share with my clients, are things like, having office hours, closing the door in the, if you work from home like I do, closing the door in the office to say, right, okay, I'm done for today. Having a structure in such a way that allows other people to know that you're busy working, and structuring your business in such a way that you're not doing everything. And this, I can't stress this point enough, that you can't do it all. You really cannot do it all. So, and this applies whether you're a startup business, whether you're an established business, whether you're just kind of getting your, finding your legs. It's really about building a structure in such a way that allows you to focus on what you're really good at. And I think this is the key, that, when we talk about being the best of who we can be, we're not meant to be great at everything. We're not meant to do everything. We're not meant to be great at everything. If we were, then we would be naturally good at everything. True. Some people are very good at, organisation and structure, and, I have to say I'm a bit of a geek in that kind of respect. And then there'll be other people who are fantastic at, doing sales and doing marketing, and, there's lots of different things that people are really good at. And for me to try and be something, or to try and get better at something that I know is not my zone of genius, as Gay Hendricks calls it, that takes me away from what I should be doing in my business. So I suppose I'll take an example like technology. I have somebody who helps me with the technology aspects of my business. If I was to try and do that, I would probably be in my office 24/7, because something that takes somebody else an hour to do, it'd probably take me a day to do.
Yeah.
And right from the beginning, I always said that's not the way that I want to run my business. So it's a mindset piece.
Yeah. I hear you very much, and there does seem to be this trait amongst women who, I hear it all the time, Yasmin. They almost feel that they need to control everything around their business. And, that if perhaps they were to outsource something, then maybe it wouldn't get done properly or whatever. But I do believe that this is a really important aspect of how you're actually structuring, as you've said, structuring your organisation to support you. And the other thing that I think in here that I'm sure you'll agree with me, that there's this whole element of self-worth and valuing yourself as well. I can remember when I took on my first VA, and we're going back years now, probably about 2006, I was petrified. How on earth was I going to pay her? I absolutely knew I needed the help, but you know what happened? It was absolutely remarkable. Within 3 months of having Tracy on board, supporting me and helping me, my business doubled, and I'm talking about my profits. But, I was in so much fear, but I did it in any case, and it was the best thing that I ever did. So have you got any advice that you'd like to share around that one?
I would say that, I would completely empathise, and I would have been that same person that, there'll be times when you think, I can't afford it. I absolutely can't. And the way that I look at it is that, we have to start attributing a value to our time.
Yes.
So, we all have an hourly rate. And, are you going to pay, are you going to take, say, for example, my hourly rate was £100, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take somebody, I'm going to pay somebody £25 an hour to do something for me. Like, already you can see that that's a no-brainer. But, in the logical mind, you're like thinking, yes, but I'm not paying myself £100 an hour. So it's not really a transaction, I suppose. But I say that it's a mindset thing. That when you start valuing your time, and you start valuing your expertise, and you start doing the things that you should be doing, and so this is key for me, is, when I talk about simplicity, the focus, is like, what are you doing with your time? That means that, do you get the results that you're looking for? And sometimes we just, things like social media, it just takes up so much time, and yet, if you were to reflect on it and look at your results, and you think, actually, I get nothing from that, then, you have to then rethink your strategy.
Absolutely. And I think it's so easy to get swept up and we start forming some not always necessarily good habits, particularly around social media. It's one of the things that I hear all the time. Oh, it's taking me so much time. But, what I'm loving, what I'm hearing you sharing so much with us, it's really about gaining clarity, focus, to really move and drive our businesses forward. So
that's something that I do for myself all the time. Like, by no means am I standing here and saying, oh, look at me, I've got it all sorted. I can easily fall into that, pattern as well. And you kind of go, whoa, hold on a minute, what's going on here? And it's something that needs that continual refocus, recalibration. And I think that's really where I've kind of really benefited from working with, coaches and mentors, who help you to do that. Because I think otherwise you just kind of go off on a track and then you look back and think, how did I get here? Where did that happen?
Absolutely, and maybe this is a really good point to, because obviously you are a coach, and incredibly passionate about your topic as well. So maybe now would be a good time just to invite people to come and find out a little bit more about you. So Yasmin, where do we need to signpost people?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the best place right now is www.yasminvorology.com. And what I have at the moment on available is a free report called The Trouble with Superheroes.
Oh, wow.
The superhero theme is probably going to kind of resonate with a lot of people. And I thought the way that I look at it is savvy strategies for people who do too much. And this is really kind of your jumpstart kit on how you can actually start doing more without doing more. I'm always refined. Oh, Selena, what's wrong with you, baby? You're a bit cranky, aren't you? She wants to have her say again. What I would say, in the report is kind of really share some key strategies that has really helped me in my business. And I'm really passionate about this because I really do believe that women need the right support to build business, build a sustainable business, and learn how you can master the art of leading others to help you get your mission done.
Wow, I'm sure we're going to have quite a few downloads coming from this call then.
I'm sure you have my name anyway, because I know Yasmin Vorology, some people kind of spell it a bit wrong or whatever, but it's YASMINVORAJEE. Yeah, come along to the website. I have loads of resources to share. I'm always changing what I offer to my clients as well, and my readers, my interested subscribers as well, so please do.
Super, and thank you. And we will put a link out with the call as well, so that people will have the correct spelling, so no worries on that one. And I love everything that you're talking about today. I know this is just going to be hitting the spot with so many people. We've talked about some of the reasons really that potentially stop women from reaching, higher within their business. We've talked about this, but what would you say was that number one reason that prevents that?
Number one reason, and as I was saying before, that I was taking part in this Global Women in Leadership Summit. Mm-hmm. I ran two summits, two sessions as part of that summit, and in both of those sessions, I asked the participants which reason would deter you from aspiring to a leadership position. I'm not ready, or I'm not good enough.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty powerful question. I was really interested to get the answer. 67 and 70% of the women and the participants said, I'm not ready. And I just think this is such a powerful realization, because when you tell yourself, I'm not ready, you're always putting it out into the future.
Yeah.
Because you're always assuming that there will be a time when you feel ready. So I'm not ready to hire somebody, or I'm not ready to start my business, or I'm not ready to expand my team, or I'm not ready to do that product launch, or I'm not ready to go for that promotion. All those things that we're telling ourselves, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. That's what's holding us back. And interestingly enough, in Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, mm-hmm. She talks about the difference between men and women. And don't like generalizing, but it was interesting, the research that she shares in the book talks about the fact that women will, in the majority, have that reason that holds them back from actually, thinking about going to, aiming for the boardroom. Whereas men, in the kind of, I suppose, in the research showed that they'll give it a go anyway. Mm. And I just thought, and I read that, and I just thought, that is powerful. That is really interesting, because a man is sitting there thinking, you know what, I might not have everything that I need, but I'll give it a go. Whereas a woman is saying, I'm not ready for that, so let me go and find more information. Let me go and get more experience. Let me go and get X, Y, and Z. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, because as a leader, you're always going to be evolving. As somebody who you own your own business, or you're in a leadership position, you're always going to be evolving. But it's like we're expecting to be perfect.
Yeah.
all the time. You know, like I have nothing to learn. I'll only go for that position, or I'll only do that when I'm 100% ready. And it just doesn't work that way. And so for me, it's got to be about empowering ourselves to the point where we can take the first step. Because that's all we have to do, is take the first step.
Yeah, and I'm so identifying with this as well, you know, I see it too, but I'm curious now. How do you show and encourage women, you know, to make this change?
Well, it's interesting because I've been working on this kind of framework, I suppose from the work that I've done with my clients and over the last 13 years or so now, both in the corporate world and with my own business. And I've identified sort of 4 key elements that are really powerful. And I think, Alison, you may have the older version of this framework. This is something that I've been evolving, as there seems to be a bit of a buzzword in our conversation. But I started off and I was thinking, okay, so the 3 pieces, the 3 main components were courage, confidence, and capability. And then I was looking at it and I was thinking, actually, do you know what? I'm missing a very important piece. And the piece that really, I think, we start off with, and that's clarity.
Clarity, yes, cool.
So the clarity around what is it that you want to create. You know, whether you're leading an organization, you might be wanting to go for that promotion, or, you know, to aim for that CEO position, or to aim just to get to the boardroom, or you have your own business. What is it that you want to create? Because so many times, oh, you've been really cranky today, and you're normally the best of the day. I think when we're not sure what we want, that's when it's very hard to make it happen, because you're kind of going in all directions. You know, oh, maybe I want that, maybe I want this, maybe I want this, maybe I want that. And that's fine, because it just means that you're very creative. But I also think that there comes a point where you have to put a stick in the ground and say, right, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to work towards. So that's where the clarity comes in. And then, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say about the clarity piece, you know, I just wanted to kind of clarify the clarity piece. So what I'm hearing you saying, really, this is the clarity around what you want, not necessarily the clarity of how it's going to happen. Yeah. Okay, and I think there's a really big distinction there for people to make, because obviously that's what we were talking about previously, that is holding people back. You know, I'm not ready. So I just wanted to check in myself and also just to reiterate that point. But yeah, thank you. And it's so huge, isn't it? I remember I was at an event last year, and it was being shared with us that only 1 in 4 people really truly know what they want.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And energetically, having a really powerful clarity and being really clear on what it is that you want to create, it's just amazing, because then things start to fall into place.
Yes.
And I say this with experience, that where I have been really confused and I have lacked the clarity, it's felt very confusing, it felt very hard, it felt very difficult. And then when you have that kind of, I suppose, the shades just fall off and you just suddenly kind of see everything and you think, wow, where was that hiding all the time?
Yeah.
And then things start to fall into place. So clarity, I think, is really important. And then I suppose the confidence and the courage elements are really so important as well, because, you know, we need courage to be able to go after our dreams. You know, when I was choosing to live away from home, you know, it took an awful lot of courage for me to tell my parents, first of all, that I was going to leave, and that all the ensuing drama that happened. And you know, when we truly go after what our heart desires, there will be the fear, because, you know, perhaps people won't be happy with the decisions that we're making, and people might think it's risky, and all these other people are thinking X, Y, and Z. But we really have to have the courage of our convictions and the courage of our clarity as well, and say, no, this is what I want to create. If you're thinking about, you know, starting a business or growing your team or doing a new product, you know, it all takes, you know, there's always a certain amount of fear around that, because you're, you know, thinking, what if it doesn't work out? What if that product fail, so there's always that level of fear. And so for me, it's really about building that courage up in somebody. And the confidence element, I think that plays a big part in the whole I'm not ready scenario, because you're like, oh no, if you feel that you're ready, if you felt like 100% I am ready to go on stage and just work my ass off and really show the world what I'm capable of, then people would go for it. But it's that confidence that, we need to be able to say, listen, I may not feel ready inside, but I'm going to show it to the world that I am ready.
Yes.
And then,
it's great for growing and stretching us, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because, and I say this and I have taught presentation skills for a long time now. And I've worked with some people who, have wept at the thought of presenting, and I just kind of have 3 little words that I use, and they're so powerful. And it's just act as if. Act as if you are the most confident person, you are the best presenter, you are the best speaker, and, it's that first step. For me, it's got to be, the focus has to be on that first step. And so when we're thinking about our business every day, it's like, okay, what steps can I take? Rather than trying to see the whole picture and try and boil the ocean, it's like, let's just take one step after another. And then the final was around capability. And, when, we don't know everything. And, there'll be a lot of other people who can support us, so we're not having to do everything. But when you need to learn the things that you need to learn, like being a great people leader and people manager, then you'll develop that capability as well. But don't expect to just have this, immediate heavenly download one night and that's it, you're suddenly brilliant. It happens and it grows. And it always made me laugh in the corporate world when somebody was promoted on a Friday, and on the Monday morning, they were expected to be, this amazing leader.
Yes, I've seen that too.
Yeah, and I was thinking, well, what happened to them over the weekend? Did they just get like amazingly heavenly download? I said, no, we promoted them on their potential, and now we have to let them grow. So why are we assuming that they are now the completed product?
Yeah, exactly. We're all processes in work, aren't we? So I think these 4 keys are incredibly important, and I'm hoping people who are listening in are actually writing this down. They're really key words. Great words to actually put on your vision board or even have a screensaver. And I know for me that little things like that often can serve as wonderful reminders just at the perfect time when you're just having a wobbly moment or something. So.
If you on Facebook, I have a new page that I set up recently, which kind of really fulfills one of my personal ambitions, and it's called Inspiring Greatness School for Leadership. And if you actually go onto that page, and hopefully we can send out a link as well, there's a graphic that really shows that transformation. It's something that I personally created to really show that transformation of having the clarity, the courage, the confidence and the capability. So that's Inspiring Greatness School of Leadership.
Fabulous. We'll grab the link to that as well, Yasmin, if that's okay, because I definitely want to go and take a look at that now, but not just yet. Because I also, I've been reminded of so much in this call, and you're showing some really, really fabulous content. And I think one of the bits that really, really resonates with me is the whole thing about, creating our own rules. That's what I say about winning women. We thrive because we think big and we live by a completely different set of rules. Our rules, so I do believe that we're tapping into your philosophy here as well about leadership, which is all fabulous. But just to kind of finish up here, if you were to leave us today with some tips, some really practicalities, what would you say? What I'm looking for, Yasmin, is how can women listening in really tap into their divine leadership within their business?
Okay. So what I'd say is there's probably 3 key areas that they need to be thinking about in terms of tapping into their divine leadership.
Okay.
So number 1 is leading themselves. So lead themselves. And this is really where I would kind of encourage everybody to think about how are they leading themselves? How are they managing their energy? How are they focusing? How are they being held accountable? This is something that is, I thought, a topic really close to my heart as well, is that, we say we're going to do all this great stuff, and then we don't do it, and then we possibly delude ourselves in thinking that wasn't very important to us in the first place. And the great thing with accountability is that, you hold yourself accountable, and you say, did I do it? Did I not do it? Why didn't I do it? And the key with not being overwhelmed in business is to make sure that you're focused on the things that will get you the results, not all of the other peripheral activities. I think leading yourself is a really important element of that, and always staying firmly rooted in the why of your business. It's interesting, I've heard some people talk about, I've had enough of everyone talking about, passion in business, it's rubbish, and I just think, I think it's so important that you can't dismiss it, because when we truly are passionate about our business and the why of our business, that keeps us firmly rooted in why we're doing what we're doing. Otherwise, it just becomes another job, and it's, yes, you might have a very profitable business, but if you're not feeling the love of it from your heart, soul, then you kind of go, well, that's fair enough. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But for me, it's got to be about creating something from a place of heart and soul. And then, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I agree with you totally, and again, this is where I believe this evolutionary change is coming about. More and more women are opening themselves up to working in that way, and really acknowledging that that's how they felt all the time. At one of our winning women groups here in Hampshire, I had some solicitors come along a few weeks ago, and they just said it was so refreshing because it was so very, very different than their kind of more, well, I'm going to use the term masculine, their more typical term way of working. So, the way that we were being so heart-centered and really opening ourselves up to the passion, the reasons why, what motivates us, what inspires us, what really makes our hearts sing, opened their eyes, really. It gave them the opportunity to see things in a different way, and it isn't all necessarily black and white. So, yeah, I'm really, really glad that you shared that as well.
Yeah, and for me, I think it just goes back to the whole idea of, yes, I want to have a profitable business, but when we're thinking about sustainable business, we need it to be something that we're passionate about. And for me, I've always equated having financial success with the value that we provide to customers and our clients. And when you're providing massive value because you love what you're doing, then you will get rewarded for that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, I mean, we could go into we could open a completely new can of worms here, because I think there's a lot of work to be done around that, which really sort of ties in with your 4 key elements of the courage and the confidence, and a little bit of the capability as well, really. So, but we won't go there. Maybe we'll set that for another call.
I'll move on to the leading others piece then.
Yeah,
I know, we could get completely drawn. I could talk about this for days and days and days, to be honest with you. So you're right to close it off. So leading others, like I said, you can't do everything by yourself. And this applies whether you have a virtual team or whether you have an actual physical team. People obviously have retail businesses and service businesses. So, your team, you might not think you have a team, but if you have people that, subcontract with you, or, you still have a team. And, you need to be able to leverage and lead the people around you to support you so that they strengthen you where you're not strong, and where you can operate in your absolute zone of genius and zone of inspiration. But you have to master the art of leading others. It can't just be about throwing work out and saying, do this, do that, do this. It's about bringing that group of people and really, I suppose, infusing them with the value of business and the why of the business, so that they really feel passionate about it as well. Because, if you have customer service people, for example, you want them, they're the face of your business, so you need them to be completely bought in and to be loyal to the mission, and to really do their best as well. So leading others is critical piece of it. And then leading your business. You know, we've heard a lot about you know, working on the business, not just in the business. You know, Michael Gerber's E-Myth. We talked about the whole idea that, you know, you can't just be in the trenches. You have to kind of come out and allocate time where you're really thinking about the business, you're really thinking about where it's going to go, how you're going to grow it, what strategies you're going to be using, and not get yourself into the mode of busy, look at me, I'm being so busy, and actually being productive and actually being more effective. And for me, that's what 21st century leadership is all about as well, is having highly effective leaders who know where they're going and who know how to direct and how to lead others to get to where they want to go.
I love this. So let me just make sure that I understand this. The three key areas that, you know, we need to be focusing on very much are: 1, leading ourselves; 2, leading others; and 3, leading our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. Honestly, Yasmin, this is just so exciting, and I hear you so much when we said we could just, you know, keep talking about this all the time. You know, we could have a call every week on this, and I hear your passion as well, that you really want to be sharing this with other women, because it's so incredibly important to be really, you know, embracing everything that you're sharing, and taking it on board and embodying it, and then living it. You know, it's really important. But if you had one last secret to share with us about leadership, what would it be?
For me, it would be, leadership is not just about the big picture. You know, leadership is not just about you know, all the great quotes and all that kind of good stuff. Leadership is about the day-to-day, about how you actually lead the business. I think earlier on in our conversation, we were talking about a lot of women in business would say, well, I'm not a leader. And I really want to challenge that notion, because you are a leader. You know, you are forging the path for yourself. You're inspiring other people by following your dreams and following your heart desires. Whether you have your own business or whether you're, you know, you want to become a leader within an organization. I really think that you've got to kind of be focused on the big picture and the day-to-day. So when I was talking about things like being very focused on what you do, being held accountable, having simplicity in your work, and being very clear on what it is that you want to achieve, those are the things that really bring your leadership alive. So leadership for me is, you know, like you said as well, like, you know, it's a bit of a concept out there. So for me, it's kind of like the umbrella concept. Then how do your business and how you are in your business, that's what really brings your leadership to life.
There's a lot for people to take away and to think about, and I want to thank you so much, Yasmin, for joining me on this Global Winning Women call. It's been absolutely such a delight, not only to chat with you, but to reconnect with you as well, because that's really, really big for me too. I hope you've, you know, enjoyed sharing what it is that you are so passionate about within, you know, becoming that divine leader within our businesses. Remind us again, just before we go, where we can find you.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm kind of always hanging out there. You'll see pictures of my beautiful children. I do like to share with the community. So my website is yasminvorajee.com, and that's where I share with you a free report on the trouble with superheroes. And you'll get access to my weekly blog post and my weekly newsletters that I like to send out, and kind of all the latest things that are going on here at Yasmin HQ as well. So yasminvorajee.com is the best place to find me, and Facebook. I'm also on Twitter at Yas Leading Women, and you'll also find me on LinkedIn as well. So I really want to thank you, Alison, for this opportunity to kind of have a chat with you, and it's been great to reconnect with you as well. And I want to thank the listeners as well for listening. And I hope that you've got something out of this conversation. As you can tell, I'm really, really passionate about this, and it's something that it just speaks to my heart and my soul, and so I love talking about it. And just thank you for letting me share.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So until next time, it's Alison Marlowe here, just signing off. Bye for now.